5 basketball players and 3 men's soccer players have entered the transfer portal this past week, and that's just who we know of right now. It's got to be hard feeling like you're not getting the attention you deserve and your skills aren't being utilized properly. Not that I would know. I have my own TV show and write for a nationally recognized newspaper. Good luck to everyone dipping out, though. Hello, I'm Siobhan Nolan.
And I'm Libby Gilliland. Siobhan makes a good point. But good for our wonderful audience. These two very accomplished hosts aren't going anywhere, and we are finally back together for another episode. You're watching LaSalle TV's home for Explorer Athletics, SportsLine.
Welcome to SportsLine. I'm running out of creative ways to tell you we have recaps, so with that being said, we have recaps of all the sports that happens this past week.
And later, track and field's Olabisi Adams hopped on desk with Siobhan to take us through her standout performance at the Penn Challenge.
But first, let's take a look at our SportsLine top 3.
Number 1, 3 members of the women's basketball team found themselves honored once again as they found themselves named to the All-Area team last Thursday. Kayla Spurl, Molly Massantonio, and Claire Jacobs were named to the PhillyCollegeSports.com All-Area first, second, and third teams respectively. Spurl had a spectacular senior season as she led the Explorers in scoring on remarkable percentages. Her season was topped off as she reached 1,000 points in her career in a game night against Fordham. Massantonio controlled the offense at point guard, leading LaSalle in assists, and she finished with the second best assist-to-turnover ratio in the A10. Finally, at 2.6, Jacobs became the fastest Explorer to eclipse 1,000 career points as she continued to be a threat from the three-point line, shooting 34% from deep this season.
Number 2, Khalil Brantley, Clifton Moore, Jack Clark, Jameer Brickus, and Mamadou Doucouré all announced last week that they would be entering the transfer portal this semester. Brantley and Brickus have the option to return to LaSalle should they wish to in the future. They all expressed immense gratitude for their time with the program, with Clark stating that his, quote, 4 years at LaSalle have been instrumental in my growth and appreciation of the game and more, unquote.
Number 3, water polo's Francesca Coe was named NovaCare Student Athlete of the Week this week. The freshman utility from Italy was instrumental in the Explorers' 4 games against MAC opponents LIU and St. Francis Brooklyn and Siena and Marist. She recorded 5 goals, 5 assists, and 4 steals. She was also the leading scorer for the Explorers' win over Siena and led the team in assists in their game against LIU.
So obviously the transfer portal for the 5 basketball players is the big talking point. It all kind of coincidentally happened very soon after Ashley Howard was announced to be fired. So I don't know if that has anything to do with them transferring since he recruited a lot of them, but it's very surprising that 5 all at once are going to be leaving the program.
Yeah, it's scary to see that. Not great for LaSalle, and hopefully they can it puts a lot of pressure on recruiting, but I know being on a team, if a bunch of people are leaving, there's probably a reason why, and I don't know if it is Ashley Howard. Hopefully they can bring a really good recruiting coach in and hopefully get some more players and have a better season next year.
But on the women's basketball side, seeing Claire Jacobs, Molly Massantonio, and Kayla Spurl all honored in the all-area team is really great to see because all 3 of them absolutely deserve it. They've all had really great seasons, so it's nice to see 3 of them get that recognition because usually LaSalle doesn't really get all 3 players at once. It's usually just like 1 or 2. So it's really cool that they're getting that recognition from a very big basketball website.
Absolutely. Again, very well deserved. All 3 of them were kind of the key components for the team this season. And although they didn't do as well in A10s as they hoped, their season was very successful in the regular season, and they were really the leaders in that. So really proud of them and great to see us recognized.
And water polo, Francesca Coe, the utility from Italy. I had a lot of fun with that when I was writing that. But she had an amazing 4-game stretch. Even though the Explorers went 2-2, she was instrumental getting goals, assists, steals. So, you know, there's just a bunch of stars in that water polo team, and it's really amazing to see that, you know, the the star power is kind of divided up just to make for a really strong team this season.
Yeah, I think every week we're talking about a different name, and there's leaders on the team, but everybody's contributing, and it's great to see that. And they've had a really great season so far, and even though 2-2 this week, but still an incredible performance, and excited to see what they can do.
And that's it for top 3. Now let's see how our teams did in this week's recaps. Men's and women's track traveled to North Carolina to compete in the rally relays. On the men's side, Liam Rivard led the Explorers as he finished 5th in the 800 meters. Ibrahim Kadir set a new career best in the 10K as he clocked in at 29 minutes and 41.11 seconds. Tayanga Mbambo also set a personal best in the 5,000 meters with a time of 14 minutes and 26.3 seconds. The personal best continued on the women's side as El Mancini finished with a time of 33 minutes 26 seconds in the 10K, which ranks 4th best in the nation. Finally, Liz Mancini recorded her personal best time in the 5,000 meters with a time of 16 minutes and 18 seconds.
The water polo team traveled to Brooklyn to compete against LIU and St. Francis over the weekend. In the match against LIU, LaSalle recorded their first loss in 13 games, which saw their streak come to an end. It was a close game that saw offensive pressure from both sides. In the first period, it ended 5-5 in a tie, and LaSalle brought up the heat in the second frame, putting up 5 more goals while holding the Sharks to 3 to take the 10-8 lead by halftime. With a short lead, LIU found their momentum in the second half, tallying 6 goals in each period while holding off the Explorers to take a 20-18 victory. In the end, the next team they faced was St. Francis. Coming off the close loss, the Explorers were eager to get their streak back. The Blue and Gold put up an early lead over the Terriers, taking a 2-point advantage into the second period. Though the Terriers remained consistent in the third frame, LaSalle had the final say with a 3-goal effort in the final frame while allowing just 1 St. Francis goal to bounce back with an 11-7 win. In this match, LaSalle went 3-1 in sprints, and goalkeeper Emma Gurisic recorded 5 saves, 2 steals, and 2 assists.
The water polo action didn't stop there. The team then competed in another set of games against Siena and Marist. First up was Siena. The Saints were first to strike in this match, just over a minute in the first frame. Junior Shauna Zuanich put LaSalle in the game nearly 30 seconds later to bring the match to a tie. The teams traded goals over the next 2 minutes, with the Explorers being able to pull ahead by 2. However, Siena answered back to bring the deficit to 1 heading into the second period. The second period started off strong as the Blue and Gold went on a 3-goal run to pull ahead of the Saints by 4. The Saints found the back of the net once more to cut the deficit by 3, only for freshman Francesca Coe to score back-to-back to put the Explorers up by 5 at the half. The third frame saw a lot of back-and-forth scoring until the final frame, where the Blue and Gold were able to hold their defensive side to end up with a triumphant victory, 17-6. Next up, LaSalle faced Marist. The match did not start off in the Explorers' favor, as Marist jumped out to a 6-point lead early in the game. The Blue and Gold managed to slow down the offense in the second and get more of their rhythm back in the third. However, the early 6-point deficit was too much of a setback, and the Explorers fell to Marist 16-10.
Lacrosse opened up its A10 schedule last weekend with games against Richmond and VCU. First up was their match against the Spiders on Friday, where things got ugly quick. The Explorers were only able to score 1 goal in the first period, as Richmond scored the game's first 4 goals to make the score 4-1. LaSalle was then blanked in the second period as the Spiders scored 5 unanswered in the period. Katie Johnson finally breathed some life into the Explorers' offense, scoring the first goal of the third period. LaSalle tried to mount a comeback in the fourth, outscoring the Spiders 4-1. Unfortunately, it was too late as LaSalle fell 14-8. Then it was on to the Rams. The game got off to a much better start as LaSalle found themselves leading after the first period 5-3. The middle periods were evenly matched as the game went into a final frame with a score of 10-7, with the Explorers still leading. The Rams attempted a late rally, scoring 4 unanswered goals in the fourth period, but LaSalle would score 2 of their own to make the final score 12-11.
Track and field, more personal best. We love to see it. I honestly don't really know what else to say about track and field other than the Mancini sisters are amazing. The freshmen are doing amazing. It's just amazing to see how they do well as a group, but they perform so well individually and always seem to set new records, new personal bests with every meet that they compete in.
Absolutely. It's so impressive. I
Yeah.
mean, every headline is track and field, and it's so exciting. We keep hearing new names in that too. The Mancini sisters, of course, are just incredible, but it's good to see. It's a huge team, and to see everybody contributing is incredible.
And then water polo with 2-2, not the most ideal result over the weekend, but when you have results like 17-6 and then you have some closer ones like 16-10, it's not the most, close thing that you could get, but it's really good to see that there is a lot of fight in that team, that even if they go down early, they still are able to score and get that defensive side as well. So water polo is still looking strong, even though their winning streak is over. So definitely excited for them to keep that momentum going and hopefully get it done over the next stretch of 4 games that they have this weekend.
Yeah, and with the magnitude of games that they're playing, it's so impressive that this weekend they lost a game, but they came back and won. And playing that many games in a row, especially swimming, I can't swim, so I can't say anything, but it's got to be so difficult to play that sport. And they just show up again and again, and they're playing so well right now. So I'm really excited to see what they do the rest of the season.
And that goes for all sports. The amount of traveling, and Libby, obviously, you know this, but the amount of traveling that a lot of LaSalle athletes have to do because of our conference play and where our opponents are located a lot of the time, it's got to take a toll on you and how you perform, right?
It absolutely does. And at this point in the semester, it's a lot of tests. You're closing in on finals. There's a lot of stress, especially for athletes, because you're getting into the heat of competition season as well. So it's very stressful, and to see the teams competing at the level that they are is incredible.
Yeah, and that's it for recaps. But when we come back, I got to sit down with track and field's Olabisi Adams. Stay tuned.
Unlike other health concerns, mental illness is not always easy to see.
Third line, please.
DEPRESSION.
Mental illness doesn't show up on a scale.
Bipolar?
Sorting out a mental health concern is not something to attempt on your own.
Anxiety. I thought so.
Like many health conditions, help for mental illness takes professional diagnosis and treatment. And the sooner you seek treatment, the better.
Look at that. 6,000 steps and PTSD.
If you or a loved one has a mental health concern, don't go it alone. Find out what to do. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral, call 1-800-662-HELP. Learn more at samhsa.gov/support.
Yo, bro, what's good?
What's going on?
How you feeling, man?
Doing good. How you doing?
When'd you start smoking?
Smoking? It's a jewel, bro.
It's a jewel?
Yeah.
Listen, you might as well be smoking cigarettes. When you start juuling or vaping, you're 4 times more likely to start smoking cigarettes.
Is that true?
That's very true. Give me this one. You don't need it.
To learn more about e-cigarettes, go to thetruth.com.
Welcome back. We finally have interviews again, and this week I got to talk with track and field's Olabisi Adams. Take a look. Hello, I'm Siobhan Nolan. Welcome back to this week's edition of On the Sidelines. I'm joined by track and field's Olabisi Adams. So, Penn Challenge, you got your career best in the long jump. How was that feeling to know that you kind of beat yourself for that record?
It felt really good, honestly. The first meet of the outdoor season, I'm not really thinking about high expectations. I'm just going out there, getting a mark and seeing what I can base my goals off of. So to know that I did so well in the first meet was really empowering for me and motivating.
Yeah, and making that transition from the indoor to the outdoor season, what is that like? Is it a big transition, or does it not really much of a difference for you guys?
It is like a transition because indoor is sort of like a different feeling than outdoor. Indoor, They're both competitive, but like outdoor is the one season that a lot of people look forward to, and we're all looking forward to. So transition was, like normal, pretty nice, and we've been working hard from like indoor, and we just got that like momentum going into outdoor. So.
And you guys are training pretty much most of the year. You kind of have 3 seasons if you count cross country as well. So what does the preparation for you and your specific events look like to kind of go across those winter and spring seasons?
So I'm a sprinter and I do long jumps. So I do like my sprint training and like training at the long jump pit. It's pretty much the same all year long. We're just, building up for like the meets and the season.
And it's really cool how you do the track and the field event. So is it different for you to prepare for the sprints and long jump, or do you find that you can take elements of both and apply it to each other's events?
Oh yeah, definitely. Track, like sprinting and, long jump, very interconnected. If you're a good sprinter, it helps with long jumps. So I always, I think both are just important, and I prioritize both.
So how do you get from sprinting and long jump? Did you always do both events, or did you do one and then kind of get into the other later?
So I've been running track since I was, a little girl, like around 8 or 9 is when I started. And I just started running, and eventually I tried the long jump, and it turned out to be, pretty good for me. So I stuck with it, and I just did both hand in hand. It was always track before field. I did track first, and then my field event, I would do that. So both go hand in hand for me.
And you're very local. You went to Springside and Chestnut Hill. You're from the area. So how did you get to LaSalle, and how does it feel to be running pretty close to home for you?
It's very nice and convenient because I always have my support system. My family, they're always nearby. I haven't traveled that far.
Yeah.
So it has its pros and cons, but definitely a lot of pros because it's convenient. And how I got to LaSalle, when I was searching for schools, LaSalle had always been familiar for me. My dad, he grew up in this neighborhood.
Okay.
And when I ran track for my age group club, we practiced at LaSalle at one point.
Okay.
So it had like already a home vibe for me. So I knew I was going to look into coming here because it's always felt like home to me,
And, the track team has such a great chemistry. We've seen it with a lot of you guys and talking to a lot of other people on the team. So how important is that to have that really great chemistry and that very family-like feel for your group?
It's really helpful and motivating and inspiring, We just build off of each other, We get our energy from each other, When someone, like, people get their personal best and successes, it's really, like, inspiring and motivating for everyone, It feels like everyone's win is everyone's win.
Yeah, and that's a really nice feeling. But what would you say are your kind of biggest goals for the rest of your time here at LaSalle? You're a junior, you still have some seasons left. So what would you say are like your biggest goals that you want to try to reach before you graduate?
So before I graduate, my primary goal is to push myself as far as I can go, just sort of work hard and see how far that gets me, definitely keep setting personal bests and seeing how far that takes me.
And track is not an easy thing to do, whether you're doing the running or the field events. So how do you keep yourself motivated and keep yourself pushing even when you have days where you just kind of don't feel like doing it?
It can definitely have like its difficulties sometimes, it's like you have ups and you have downs, but what keeps me motivated is, I would say, my support system. I always go to like my family, friends, and just talk about how I feel. I'll write about it.
Okay.
I like those low points really help me get more motivated. So I feel like those are necessary, and I don't consider, those bad because they always help me channel my motivation back, because I sort of remind myself, I've always had my downs and I always came back from them, It's never a point of no return because I've been doing it for a while. So I just remind myself, I've been here,
Yeah.
I've done that,
Yeah.
I'll just get back into it. I got nothing to worry about, everything is just within me, I just got the power.
Yeah, and the writing thing is really interesting because I know as someone who really likes writing and does it a lot, that's a good way for me to channel it. So is that something that you've always done or something that you developed once you started running like D1 track?
So I've always wrote. I kept like a bunch of books, diaries in high school because it would just help me. I like writing out my thoughts. It's really, it helps me release,
It's
like
very
a lot of
therapeutic to
things.
do.
Yes. So that and conversation really helped me. But when I feel like I don't have a lot of people around me to talk about, writing always helps me. I just write everything out. And it helps me sort of get through like my thinking, like if I'm having a bad thought pattern or like I'm doubting myself a lot, I can really sort of get into like everything, like sort of like analyze it, like take my thinking apart and see what the core problem is and then, motivate myself from there.
And that's such a great thought process to have. So what kind of advice or tips would you give to a freshman who's coming into D1 track, maybe might be a little nervous and not really know how to deal with the stress of being a student and an athlete at the same time?
I would say just trust yourself. We're always so quick to doubt ourselves. Like, it's like sometimes it could be a habit. You're like, when you get into a situation and it could be stressful or like new to you, sometimes those doubtful thoughts will come first before the motivating ones do. And you got to really be aware of that and just say like, let me take a moment. What if I didn't doubt myself first? Like, what if I had the good thoughts before the bad thoughts, So I would say just sort of trust yourself, and you're gonna feel nervous, you're gonna feel like anxious, but sort of embrace that. And just because you feel nervous doesn't mean you're going to automatically fail, you know?
And was that how you felt coming into this? Like, was running and doing field events for college, was that something that you always planned on doing, or was that not something that you were really looking at to do?
It was always something I planned on doing since I've been doing it for a long time, since I was, little. I always knew track would be my life. It's always been a constant.
And it's really nice to have that constant, and obviously the track team here does really well, so we're very lucky to have you and the rest of the group here. And so for the rest of the season, we still have a few months left. Is there a meet or a certain opponent going up against that you're really looking forward to, or are you just kind of taking it one at a time?
I like to take it one at a time because if I look too far into the future, I find myself just worrying about the future. I like to be in the moment, so I'm like looking forward to the next meet. Like I take it meet by meet, and I have goals for each meet, and I like doing it that way. And I don't really think about the competition. I'm more so focused on myself because I want to go in with the mindset that I'm beating myself, like I'm competing up against myself. Because if I focus on myself and my goals, I will just automatically go far, you know, rather than thinking about, oh, who's going to be here?
Exactly.
Or like, oh, like, like checking like how much they do, I don't really think about those things or want to pay attention to those things. I want to focus on myself, so.
Yeah, so we definitely are looking forward to the next meet as well. So Olabisi, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck in your next meet. And I'm going to send it back to the desk. We're going to take another quick break, but when we come back, we'll give you the upcoming games for the week and our Explore Report game of the week.
Using meth taught me everything about freedom, only not like you think. It taught me how easy it is to lose your freedom, how meth can take control until you find yourself doing whatever meth tells you to do. Before you get there, while you still can, take a stand for yourself. If you feel yourself losing your freedom to meth, ask for help. Accept the help. It's worth it. You have the power to be truly free and be the person you want to be. I know, I'm Jan, and I'm free from meth.
If you or someone you know is struggling with meth, call 1-800-662-HELP for 24-hour free and confidential treatment referral. Learn more at samhsa.gov/meth.
Exposure to blue light can mess with your sleep and memory cycle, so make sure you limit your screen time at least 2 hours before you go to bed.
Welcome back. Here are the upcoming sporting events you should look out for. On Friday, April 1st, lacrosse will continue its A-10 schedule with a game against conference rival George Washington. Then, on Saturday the 2nd, men's and women's track will compete in the Philly Big Five event, while rowing competes in the Murphy Cup. Water polo also has a pair of matches that day as they take on LIU and St. Francis.
Water polo is back in the pool the next day with another set of games, this time against Marist and Siena. Then at noon, lacrosse takes on Davidson. Finally, men's golf will travel to the state of Washington for day one of the Seattle U Redhawk Invitational. The competition will take place from Sunday to Tuesday the 5th.
And that just about wraps it up for us this week. If you can't make it out to see the Explorer Report, be sure to tune in next week for our coverage. Keep up with this weekend's other sporting events by visiting goexplorers.com. You can also check out the digital edition of The Collegian, which now features SportsLine content.
Also check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV and on Instagram at SportsLineLTV. We welcome you to send your thoughts and suggestions there. This week's poll is Chris Rock or Will Smith. I have no comment.
Honestly, that whole thing was a mess, but for our entire SportsLine team, I'm Siobhan Nolan.
And I'm Libby Gilliland. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the game.